the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
I need one of those soundboards to give me that sound effect because I am in such a good mood right now. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph, and today we're going to be talking about the 49ers beating the Seahawks for the third time this season. They are undefeated in the NFC West, even still, and they have advanced to the divisional round after a wild game today. We're going to talk all about it. First, let's talk about this first half for the 49ers, right? Because this was just crazy. It started off, I don't know about you guys, but I was just nervous for this game. Not because I thought that the Seahawks were a better team, but because, it's playoffs. You're worried about the rain, how much that could affect the game. Luckily, the rain didn't seem to impact the game really at all. There was some light rain in the first quarter or so. And after that, I don't think it rained at all for the rest of the game. So thankfully it didn't play a role, but I was nervous watching the game in that first bit, especially because it was a much closer game in the first half than I was kind of expecting it to be honest with you. And, really the story of the first half was the 49ers defense just kind of underperforming. I mean, we have seen this before in some other games, but I think we also saw the results of the 49ers, playing a team for a third time. That always comes with more competitiveness from the other team. You've been able to study each other a little bit more. Doesn't help that both of these teams are NFC West opponents, so they already know each other very well. The Seahawks seem to have a better answer for the 49ers pass rush. I don't know if you guys thought the same, but I kind of saw that, and so that kind of trickled down to other areas for the defense, the secondary as well. The protection was on point for the Seahawks offensive line on their end, at least in that first half for sure. And it made things a little difficult for the back end. So DK Metcalf clearly did his homework on Charvarius Ward, beat him pretty candidly and repeatedly in this game, something I wasn't really expecting. But that certainly was a huge factor in that first half and even in the second. And on offense, there was a lot of missed opportunities for the offense. And let's just look at how these two teams were looking at halftime. Well, third down conversions. The Seahawks had 4 third down conversions out of 7 attempts. The 49ers had just 1 third down conversion out of 5 attempts. Not great. And in the red zone, this is the big one. Seahawks got a touchdown in their 1 red zone trip. The 49ers had 3 red zone trips in the first half, and they only got 1 touchdown out of it. So missed opportunities. Brock Purdy, he was 9 of 19, 147 yards and a touchdown. Geno Smith, 9 of 10, 104 yards and a touchdown. So Geno Smith, much more efficient with what he was able to do. Brock Purdy throwing a lot of passes. The one positive we can take from all this is the fact that Kyle Shanahan, not shy from throwing the football with his rookie quarterback. I think we've seen Kyle Shanahan pass the ball more with Purdy than we ever saw him pass the ball with Jimmy Garoppolo, if we're talking about a span of several games, right? So I think, it shows that Kyle Shanahan has a lot of trust in Purdy, at least. So it seemed that for Purdy, there was a lot of maybe some miscommunication issues, maybe some just nervousness from, him playing his first playoff game. He missed some open guys. There was that one weird play where he tried to go deep. I forgot who he was targeting on that one, but he had Deebo Samuel wide open underneath. A couple just weird things. Maybe Brock Purdy trying to do a little too much in that first half. But at the end of the day, the 49ers stayed afloat in that first half. And that's really all you can ask for, because in the second half, it really just became an entirely different game for this team. Joseph in the comments says, let's fucking go. Screw the sea chickens. Keith Carter says, Brock Oli poured on the cheese. Broccoli. All right. Yeah, I like that. Guys, like this video if you haven't yet. Appreciate all the love. But let's talk about the second half, because the second half was crazy. So I'm going to talk about it extensively. 49ers get the ball after the half, right? Because right before halftime, they also got the ball, but I believe they only got a field goal. So not as much as you would expect or hope they would have gotten, but they got the field goal. The score at halftime was God, I don't even remember the score at halftime, but I think it was just a 1-point game at that point. So 49ers get the ball after the half, and they pretty much, in my opinion, they need to score here if they want to retake some of that momentum, because the Seahawks had all of the momentum in that first half. And so in that first drive after the half, what happened was Deebo Samuel got a big play, and Jonathan Abrams of the Seahawks, he kind of like twisted Deebo's ankle as he was already on the ground. He was already down. And then he kind of did a little extra something to his ankle. As you guys know, Deebo Samuel coming off an ankle injury. So that did not sit well with Deebo, nor with other players on the 49ers offense, of course, really the entire team. And there was a bit of a squabble at that point, because players were not happy about that. And deservedly so. That was not a great move on Abrams' part. And 49ers talking about this after the game, for them, it seemed like this was the turning point. I don't know if I agree. Like, maybe it was for them. I mean, I certainly can't argue with what they say about what the turning point was. Definitely added, I think, an extra bit of juice to them. But few plays later, the 49ers score. It was Brock Purdy on a QB sneak at the goal line that they're able to take the lead 23-17. And at this point, after that, they really do not look back. But here's what I think is the momentum shifting drive for the game, because the Seahawks get the ball back. And this is our test, right? This is how we see, okay, how is DeMeco Ryans going to respond? Because this is the first time that the Seahawks got the ball back after the half. So after, the defense didn't do so well in the first half, I was really curious to see how the defense was going to respond in the second half. Were they going to continue, allowing some runs to happen? Were they going to continue allowing, big chunk plays to happen? So this was a big test. And so for me, this was the momentum shifting drive for the game, I think. Geno Smith and DK, they continue to have some success on this drive. The Seahawks doing a much better job protecting Geno Smith, as I mentioned. But the one positive takeaway that I took from that drive is that the 49ers were at least stopping the run. And when you stop the run, that trickles down to other things where, if you do that, you kind of can ease your way back into control defensively. Metcalf got over 100 yards on the game on this drive. Again, he was owning Charvarius Ward today. Seahawks get in the red zone on this drive, and this is kind of where it starts to snowball for the Seahawks on offense, and they've never reclaimed control. Seahawks get in the red zone. Their center, Austin Blythe, goes down with an injury, so it's Kyle Fuller, their backup center, in at that point. Then the Geno Smith targets DK Metcalf towards the end zone. Charvarius Ward is able to get a breakup on this throw. The only play really that he was able to, force an incompletion on, but it was a huge play because what happened after this, right after that pass breakup from Charvarius Ward, next play, the 49ers get some pressure on Geno Smith, and Charles Omenihu gets a strip fumble on Geno Smith. And who is it that falls right on the ball? It's Nick Bosa. And the 49ers get the first turnover of the day. And that was huge. To me, that was the turning point of the whole game, because yes, they got some extra juice in their offensive drive before that, with them being angry about Deebo. But this is really where they took control of the game on both sides of the ball, and they did not look back. So after that, the 49ers offense scored. Elijah Mitchell with a wide open touchdown, and they go 4-2 after that, try to make it a 14-point game, and George Kittle gets it. So from there, it was pretty much just all 49ers. In fact, the 49ers outscored the Seahawks 25-7 in the second half. Let's get to some comments here, because I love that you guys are interacting in the comments. Dawson here says the best thing Purdy did in the first half was no interceptions. Yeah, Purdy took care of the ball today. I mean, he tried some very tight window throws. Couple made me nervous. I think there was one that like Cody Barton nearly looked like he could have intercepted it, but thankfully, no interceptions for Purdy in this game. He played a pretty clean game. Keith Carter says it was 17-16 at the half. Yeah, so very close, too close for comfort. Joseph Press says, I forgot which 49er creator said it, but Purdy is the arm to Shanahan's mind. He just does the correct thing overwhelmingly, more often than not, down to taking the correct sacks and throwaways. That's a really interesting comment. Definitely wasn't me who said that. Purdy is the arm to Shanahan's mind. I love that, though. I think it's very true. I think this is the most we've seen Kyle Shanahan trust a quarterback in his system. And I think Brock Purdy, someone was saying it the other day, it might have been on like KMBR or something, but Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan see the game very similarly. And, you know, it helps them. It seems like they get each other. And yeah, I mean, it shows on the field with what Purdy's been able to do and the play calling that Kyle Shanahan has for Purdy. I mean, I think it shows how much trust he has in him. All right. My brother Fabio says second half was lit. My brother was at the game. He has a pretty solid record. The 49ers tend to win when he is in attendance. Of course, when we're both in attendance, I believe we're undefeated or something like that. I don't remember the record, but we're pretty good. And I'm going to be in the house at Levi's next weekend for the divisional round, so I'm very excited about that. What's going on, Melissa? Thank you so much for joining me tonight, spending your Saturday night with me. Appreciate it, guys. Yeah, so this was a crazy game. And how about those Chargers, man? Man, are they going to fire Brandon Staley? I don't know. If they fire Brandon Staley, I would really love DeMeco Ryans to go there, but there's also Sean Payton, so I don't know. Fabio says 11-1 all time when Big Bro and Little Sis are in the building. Yes, so yeah, we have a pretty good record as attendees as a duo. So it'll be just me with my cousin next week, but it'll be a good one. It'll be a good one. We're still waiting to see who they play. But let's talk about the second half a little bit more. So this tweet from David Lombardi, Brock Purdy's final line in his first playoff start. Yeah, let's just take a moment to appreciate and just like relish the fact that this was Brock Purdy's first playoff game. And I think in the first half, we might have seen some of those jitters, right? The pressure of that, the trying to do a lot for your team, especially when it's a tight game. You know, you feel like you got the world on your shoulders. But in the second half, you know, he blew me away. In the second half alone, he was 9 of 11, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and of course, no interceptions. 16.8 yards per attempt in the second half. That is absolutely insane. And of course, he finished 18 of 30, 332 yards, 3 touchdowns. He should have had 4 touchdowns if we're being honest. I mean, if we're being just a little greedy, Brock Purdy should have had 4 touchdowns. That play where he like scrambled first, he scrambled a little to his left, then he came over to his right, and he found Brandon Ayuk in the back corner of the end zone. That was like a mind-blowing play. That should have been caught too. That was beautiful, beautiful stuff. Maybe the most beautiful incompletion we'll see all year from this 49ers team. But Brandon Ayuk just could not come down with it. He was a little too focused on getting his 2 feet in and forgot that he had to catch the ball too. Yeah, Sean Sullivan says, best incomplete pass ever. And I think it just goes to show just how good Brock Purdy can be on the move. You know, in the first half, I was a little worried because like it seemed like he was getting kind of flustered in the pocket, and he kept rolling to his left. Like he kept and over and over. And it was kind of becoming a trend where I'm like, oh man, like we can't continue to show that he has this tendency, because teams are going to look at that and try to key in on that and try to force him out, but also have guys ready on that side to make him uncomfortable. So something to keep an eye on. But I liked that play because he started going to his left, and then he was like, oh, wait, I should go to my right. And he found Brandon Ayuk. So that was an incredible play by him. Joseph says, I wish BA had caught it to drop 50 plus on Seattle and boot them out of the playoffs. Hey, man, any way we beat Seattle is good enough for me. But yeah, I mean, beating them by that much would have been nice. Fabio says he looked like Mahomes on that play. He did. I mean, I know Purdy's getting comparisons to Mahomes at times. He's getting comparisons to Montana. And to some extent, you're like, well, let's pump the brakes. But then you see some plays like that and you're like, wow, like, whew, maybe he is like the real deal. So I'm excited for Brock Purdy. I mean, again, his first playoff appearance, and this is what he does. It's truly impressive. Yeah, I talked about the 3 passing touchdowns. Didn't even talk about his rushing touchdown, the one that he snuck in. QB rating of 131.5. And I believe there's only been one time in the game that he started that he hasn't exceeded 30 points. So in this game, they got 41 points. He's just able to run this offense at such an incredible efficiency and rate that, you know, they're able to score, and it's really impressive. I mean, Christian McCaffrey also had a great game in this one, which I just expected because the Seahawks are not a good team defending the run. Christian McCaffrey, 15 carries, 119 yards. That was good for an average of 7.9. Deebo Samuel had 3 carries for 32 yards. One of those being the 22-yard one. So it was just a great game for all guys. Deebo Samuel, as we mentioned, he was on one today because especially after that play happened where they kind of try to twist his ankle. He finished with 6 catches, 133 yards, and a touchdown. So it was a great welcome back game for Deebo. Brandon Ayuk had 73 yards. Even Juwan Jennings had that one that he caught pretty deep, 41-yard. He had 41 yards on 2 catches. Kittle, you know, he got a couple of plays there too. He didn't keep his touchdown streak, but hey, that's okay. We'll take any type of win we can get, right? So it was just a great game for the entire offense, and I think it was great to see. Sinister says teams need to put some respect on Brock Purdy's name. I think what we're seeing from Brock Purdy is we're seeing him grow like at a very quick rate on the fly in these games. And, you know, I was a little I know some people were a little worried in the first half. I was worried, not specifically because of Brock Purdy, but just as the team as a whole and how they were performing. Brock Purdy, I wasn't worried about him not looking in sync in that first half because quietly, I don't know if you guys noticed, but quietly, like he had kind of like the last few games, the Raiders game, the Cardinals game, he kind of was starting like that in those games as well, where he just didn't seem in good rhythm. He kind of just needed to settle down in those games. But in every one of those games, he finished strong. So even when he's a little flustered at the start of the game, he always settles in and he always finishes strong. And so that's why I wasn't too worried. And I even tweeted about it. I was like, you know, quietly, this is what Brock Purdy has been looking like these last few games. But, you know, we've seen that he can get control in the game and finish strong. So whatever adjustments were made at halftime, both from Kyle Shanahan, Brian Griese, Brock Purdy, D'Amico Ryans, and this defense, bravo, because the halftime adjustments lately from this team have been incredible, because I think we're seeing that, you know, teams are trying to give the 49ers all they have in that first half, and the 49ers say, okay, bet. And then they adjust accordingly based on that, because there's no way with all the talent that this 49ers team has that they aren't in good position to beat anybody, in my opinion. The one, you know, maybe concern is the defense sometimes. You know, today we saw them, you know, give up a lot through the air. I think we saw something uncharacteristic a bit from Charvarius Ward. We haven't seen him look like this since the Chiefs game. And so that's a little uncomfortable to see. Hopefully, next game he settles down a little bit more. But I think it was more so the fact that, going up against Metcalf for a third time, like I said, Metcalf, it looked like he just did his homework. He was getting some revenge from that Week 15 game. So hopefully we see a better Charvarius Ward next week. I do want to give some props to Diamador Lenore. Lenore was awesome today. And I don't have his stats in front of me and what he allowed in coverage. I'll probably have that when PFF posts that. But I thought he did a great job. And even in the passes that he did allow, he was in position. He was right there, and it was sticky coverage. It was just that, DK Metcalf is at a matchup advantage because he's so large. And so I thought Lenore played a great game, though. And certainly he looked better in this game than Charvarius Ward did. And that was not something I was expecting to see. So, I got to give my props to Diamador Lenore. He's someone who, for the last few weeks, I've been, kind of openly concerned about. And if you guys have seen my preview episodes, I've talked about him. And, I've been hoping that he would put a game together like this. And I think that performance was very encouraging, especially given the fact that, he was going against Tyler Lockett. He was going against DK Metcalf, some really good receivers, because he's going to be seeing some really good receivers all throughout the playoffs. So it was a great performance from Lenore. And so I have to acknowledge that. Let's look at some other stats here. This is some great news, right? So after every game, there's a win, right, for the 49ers. This was their 11th win in a row, by the way. But the 49ers had another win after the game, and it's the fact that there were no injuries to report. Pretty much, Juwan Jennings, he returned to the game. I guess there was something with his ankle. I didn't even notice he left the game. And Ebukam, he had an ankle injury. He didn't return, but Kyle Shanahan said at that point the game was pretty much won, so he didn't have to come back in. So if the game was still like a tight one, he would have come back in, which suggests that he will be just fine. And the 49ers pretty much went and beat Seattle without any major injuries. That is always rare when you play Seattle, because the games against Seattle are always so physical. And so to have guys healthy at the end is always a good sign. And this is great going into the divisional round. Now, let's talk about some possible divisional round opponents, because at this point, the 49ers were the first playoff team to play against the Seahawks, right? And so now we get to kick our feet back and just enjoy the rest of these games, but we're also waiting to see who the 49ers are going to play. So, simple enough, if the Vikings beat the Giants, the 49ers are going to play the Vikings. If the Vikings were to lose, then we wait to see who wins between Tampa Bay or the Cowboys. So that's pretty much where it's at. If the Vikings win, we play the Vikings. If they lose, we play the winner of Tampa Bay or the Cowboys. So that game is on Monday, but the Vikings play tomorrow. So we'll know a little bit more after tomorrow. And regardless, the 49ers will be playing at home next week in the divisional round. So that's the good news for them. And if you were wondering, they probably won't announce the schedule for next week. Like, we won't know what day they play until after the Tampa Bay Cowboys game on Monday. Melissa says, I want Tampa. Yeah, don't we all? I mean, out of those three, I think Tampa Bay is probably the easiest draw. Although the Vikings, as we've been saying, have looked a little fraudulent for the past month or two. So I think the Vikings could be a good matchup. Out of all these teams, I probably wouldn't want to play the Cowboys. I think they're very balanced on both sides of the ball, so they can give us some trouble. And they want some revenge for last season. But, I think I'm okay with either the Bucs or the Vikings. But we'll find out a little bit more. Let's see. Let's get to some other comments here. Like this video if you guys have not yet. Appreciate it. Oh, Melissa says, can I come on with you right now? Oh, let's see. I can throw in my StreamYard link Don't want to stay on too much longer because I do have to get to bed. But yeah, I'm washed. I join in. I'm gonna put it in the description, Melissa, if you're still on, and you might be able to join through that link. All right, and if anyone else wants to join and chat, join the live, just click that link in the description of this video. Sinister says every Niner fan was having a heart attack after the half. Yeah, I mean, I definitely was. I was like, man, if we lose this game, this is going to be really bad and embarrassing. But, the 49ers did what they've been doing these last few games, which is just turn the entire game around in the third quarter and don't look back. It's crazy. I made a joke that the 49ers are a better third quarter team than the Warriors are at this point. That's a Bay Area joke, or if you're a Warriors fan. Sinister says this is what teams do. They don't care about indicator stats. They just win together, or individual stats. They just win together. Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that this team kind of rallied around, being upset for Debo, I think was a testament to how close these guys are and how they go to bat for each other. Keith Carter says, I was telling my sister that if the running game do not wear down teams, then the defense surely wears down teams. Yeah, I mean, I think over time, the adjustments that D'Amico Ryans makes in the second half certainly helps. So, I think that goes a long way, especially in the second half. We got Melissa over here. What's going on, Melissa? How do you feel about
Steph.
Can you hear me?
Hi, Steph.
Hey, how's it going? How you feeling about that win?
I'm happy and I'm pissed off.
Why are you pissed off?
I'm pissed off because of Debo.
Yeah.
I'm pissed off because Debo should have gotten that call. I'm pissed off because Gum Chewing Pete thinks that he can get away with murder. This is so cool. I've never been on with you before. I'm like starstruck a bit.
This is really cool, right?
Starstruck.
More like call-in episodes.
I'm gonna stare at ESPN so I can be cool. Yeah, I'm happy that Brandon Ayuk got downfield and had a fantastic block. I mean, Steph, I counted per second. Is over 10 seconds. Or like 7 seconds. It was crazy.
When he got open on that play, Brock Purdy.
I can't hear you. I'm going to get it out.
Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, this was just, she made a good point. The fact that, pissed off for Debo, I think all the players as well had that same sentiment. And so, I think that's what we saw a bit in that second half. I mean, we didn't even talk about the fact that Jimmy Ward laid out a pretty nasty hit on Geno Smith as well. That one, of course, did get called for a penalty. And so I think that was the difference between those two plays, is the fact that really you're going to twist a guy's ankle, but then to add insult to that, the refs didn't call that a penalty, but they called the Jimmy Ward hit, which that one should have been called. I'm totally in agreement with that. So I think it's luckily that Jimmy Ward penalty didn't come back to bite him in the end, but I thought that was pretty dumb. Conspiracy Nuts GFY says, I've been watching 49er football since the late 70s. This Niners team is more complete than any Niners team I can remember. Yeah, I mean, I can't say I've watched the Niners that long, but from how long I've been watching them, which goes back to like Nolan days, for me, yeah, definitely. I unfortunately was too young to watch like the glory years of the 80s and all that, but it seems like this 49ers team is on par with that. And I think because, yeah, they have the great defense, but also we finally, I feel, have a quarterback who can do enough to win these games. And, it's just great. Trent Williams had some great comments about Brock Purdy after the game. I'm going to try to find it here, but he just had some glowing, as always, he had some glowing things to say about him. Trent Williams said, he is a good player, man. I'm not saying that he's the next Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, but he does everything that we need him to do and more. I think we can continue to win with him, obviously. So, yeah, this is how the team feels. This is how I feel as well, watching Brock Purdy play. I mean, I'm very comfortable watching him execute. Even when he's nervous, like I have a lot of trust in him that he's going to bounce back and figure it out. Some other cool stats. Nick Wagner tweeted this one out. This is the 7th consecutive game with multiple passing touchdowns for 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy. And that ties him with Steve Young for second most in franchise history, and Justin Herbert for the most by a rookie since 1950. So, I mean, what Brock Purdy is doing is he's making history pretty much. And look, check out this stat that Nick Wright posted this one. Brock Purdy now has as many career playoff touchdowns as Jimmy Garoppolo. This was Brock Purdy's first playoff game, and he has as many career playoff touchdowns as Jimmy Garoppolo. That is insane to me. That's just, that's crazy. And like I said, he should have had another one if Ayuk caught that pass. So, but that tells you everything. That tells you just how Brock Purdy is able to do what Jimmy Garoppolo does, plus a little bit more. And I think that's making all the difference for this team right now, because in the past, if the defense played like this, it's very, very difficult to win in the offense. Jimmy Garoppolo, no knock on him. I mean, he's a good quarterback who's been able to do a lot for this team. But like, I think, in these very difficult games, if your defense is not performing and you need a ton of points, it was kind of tough sledding sometimes. And so I think we're seeing it come a little bit easier for Brock Purdy. And that's because, Kyle Shanahan also is able to call these plays for him. He's just able to execute it. So Grant Cohn posted this on Twitter. Joe Montana's first playoff start he was 20 of 31, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, an interception, a rating of 104.8, 38 points. Brock Purdy's first playoff start, 18 of 30, 332 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 passing, 1 rushing, 0 interceptions, and a rating of 131.5, 41 points. So the fact that he's getting compared to Montana, I think is crazy. And it's exciting for me because, like, I never really got to see Montana play out. Like I said, I was just too young. So, like, the fact that we might be seeing a player who can do some things and give this team the same kind of spark that Montana did, for me, is very exciting to see, especially at this stage in the playoffs when everything matters. Sinister says, haters keep saying that Brock hasn't played against a real defense. What does that even mean? You know what? The point is, like, the 49ers, Brock Purdy, they've played who's on their schedule. And I think they've handled adversity pretty well. They've handled some tough situations, some tight games, some games where you're down 10 pretty well. And I think that tells you a lot about this team and what they can overcome. So, yes, I think will he see better defenses in the playoffs? Yes, but, I think the 49ers altogether, I think, are a good enough team to overcome that. Dawson says, there's context, but yeah, insane stat. Yeah, absolutely. There's more context to that, but I think it's just crazy and mind-boggling that, in their first playoff start, they have such similar numbers. And in some cases, Brock Purdy had a bit of an edge there. Sinister says, you mean to tell me he'd been playing against the bench warmers the entire time? Yeah, if only. Keith Carter says, Jimmy G going to Jets, so Wilson gets benched. I don't know, man. Zach Wilson says he's going to make a vet quarterback's life hell. Watch out, Jimmy. Yeah, I would love Jimmy on the Jets. I think that'd be great for Saleh and that team. Look, here's another stat from Nick Wagner. 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey has played 2 playoff games in his career. He now has an 100-yard rushing game today and an 100-yard receiving game back in 2017. He's the first player in NFL history to do that in his first 2 postseason games. Christian McCaffrey is just like such a unique player. His skill set is so unique, and he's so good at both rushing and receiving that, man, I am just so happy that he's on our team. Here's a great stat from Josh Dubow on Twitter, posted this. 49ers are the second team with 500 plus yards, 40 plus points, and 0 turnovers in a playoff game. Chiefs did it versus the Bills last season. Hey, anytime we could be in the conversation with the Chiefs as an offense, I think we're doing some good things, right? So that tells you where we're at. Once again, guys, if in case you forgot, we are still waiting to find out who the 49ers are going to be playing in the divisional round. If the Vikings beat the Giants, which isn't a lock, of course, but if they do, we will play the Vikings. If the Vikings lose, we wait to see who wins out of the Bucks or the Cowboys on Monday. So we're going to continue to wait. But at this point, we can enjoy the fact that our team has won and our team has advanced, and we don't have to worry about playing another team until next week. So now the 49ers get a nice little rest, and they can just start preparing for next week's divisional round game. And of course, like I said, I'll be in the building. So if you guys are going to be in there, make sure to hit me up. I'd love to meet some of you. All right, guys, I'm going to head out. It's almost 10:30 here in Colorado. So make sure you like this video if you have not yet. Appreciate all the love. I appreciate all of you guys spending your Saturday night here with me live. And have a good rest of your night, guys. I'll be going live once again. I might go live tomorrow, but definitely Monday. And have a good rest of your night, guys. Peace.